First, set up a new Xcode project. Make it a single view application. Select a name for your product. In this case, we'll just call it Tap This, Slide That for your first assignment. Let's make it be an iPhone application. Hit Next. It's going to ask you for a directory where you want your Xcode project to live. In the Project Navigator, select the storyboard. In the Utilities area, select the Object Library. Drag out a UI label. Double-click on it and change the text to Hello. You can also play around with the font and alignment settings. Next, drag a UI button out onto your scene. And again, you can change the text label. We're done with the utility area, so you can go ahead and click it to hide it. Next, we're going to click on the Assistant Editor. This will bring up the View Controller's header file. Remember that our scene in the storyboard is connected to a view controller. In this case, the counterpart file is the view controller's header file. We're going to control-click on the UI label and drag it into the header file. This will create an outlet connection that will allow us to access this label in our code. Xcode will declare a property of type UI label that we've named greeting label. We're going to control-click on the UI button and again drag it into the header file. This time, instead of creating an outlet connection, we're going to create an action. This will allow this button to perform a method when tapped. We're going to name the method greetingButton. Here, Xcode will declare a method for our class called greetingButton, and in the implementation file, it will create a method stub for you to complete. Back in the implementation file, we're going to find the method called greetingButton. When the button is tapped, we're going to update our UI label named greetingLabel. We're going to update the text to say goodbye. Okay, let's go tap the Run button and the simulator will launch. We see our app. We see the text label says hello. We tap the button and it says. Next, we're going to add two new controls to our app. We're going to drag out another UI label. This time we're going to update the text just to say the quick brown fox. We're also going to drag out a UI slider control. We're going to control-click on the UI label and drag it into the header file. We're going to name that Fox label. And we're going to create a new action by control-clicking and dragging the slider to the header file. And we're going to name that method called sliderMoved. You'll see that we're going to update the type to UI slider. That way, our method knows what type of control object is sending the data. Back in our implementation file, in the method sliderMoved that was created by Xcode for us, we're going to get the value of the slider by creating a float called sliderValue. Next, we're going to put an NSLog statement that will send a string to the console, and this will let us know exactly what the slider value was. Finally, we're going to update the font property of Fox label. We're going to call system font of size to change the size of the font to corresponding to the slider value. When we go ahead and run the app, you can see when we move the slider value, nothing happens. If you check in the console, we'll see that the slider values are only going between 0 and 1. So we need to update properties in your slider to know what value range we're expecting. In this case, we'll set it to between 10 and 44, which are reasonable font sizes. Now, when we run it again, as we slide the slider, we see that the font size is adjusting to match the value in our slider range.